Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how I do it, even if you don't care. And we're continuing our in-depth look into the forces of Battlefleet Gothic with the Tau Expansionary Fleet. We just went over the special rules. I just want to make one particular note here about the Deflector Shield. The Deflector, which is the augment that makes the armor count as 6 if you're fired from the front as long as the POW weapon is intact, that's only on ships where it is noted in their stats. I made a mistake by assuming that, because of the way the words are written, I just assumed that it was on every ship, but it's not. So, moving on, we're going to talk about the ships in the Tau fleet now. And the first in our list is the battleship, which is the Explorer class starship. I'm going to try to avoid using the Tau names as if I can, because they are just really weird, and you know how bad I am with pronouncing even the simplest names like the Styx class cruiser for Chaos. Anyway, the Explorer class starship is a battleship with 12 hit points, 15 speed, turns 45 degrees, 1 shield, front side armor 5, rear armor 4, 5 turrets. So, shielding and armor-wise, it's kind of on the weak side, but it's got great ordnance defenses, which is always really good to have, especially when you're fighting stuff like, say, Dark Eldar or something like that. And in its POW, on its POW, it has a railgun battery, which is its weapon battery, range 45 centimeters, firepower 6, front, left, right arc, which is not bad. A launch bay on its port and starboard side, each with 4 squadrons, and 3 gravity hooks, each which can hold 1 orca. So if you want orcas in your escort listing, you can have up to 3 with this ship and make it its parent vessel. And it also came with a additional configuration called the experimental configuration. The stats didn't change, except its armaments changed, where it has a gravity launcher, which is its torpedo tubes on its POW, which has a firepower of 8. So it can fire strength firepower 8. Its launch bays are each reduced by 2, so it gives up the ability to launch 8 fighters down to 4 fighters to get an 8 strength torpedo servo, which I kind of would prefer, because with these types of vessels, I would want more ordnance payload, especially since their torpedoes are the most sophisticated in terms of turning and able to close in on vessels, and since their torpedoes don't last that long, can't have a risk of not lasting too long on the field, I would want as many torpedoes as possible to ensure that I can still get some to hit enemy vessels after turn 1. And that was it for their battleships. Then the next thing on our list is their merchant class starship. This is a cruiser with 4 hit points, speed 15 centimeters, 45 degree turns, 1 shield, armor 5, turrets 2. Its armaments is 1 POW railgun battery with range 45 centimeters, strength firepower 2, firing in the front, left, and right arc. 2 gravity hooks, 1 on its port, 1 on its starboard, which can hold 1 orca each. A port railgun battery with a strength firepower 2 and a front with a firing arc of front to left, and a starboard railgun battery, strength 45, range 45, strength 2, which can fire in its front or right arc. And this also had a secondary configuration called the Dalith configuration. The Dalith had the same stats, where its difference was in armaments, it replaced the gravity hooks with ion cannons, which are their lances, each 30 centimeter range, strength firepower 1, 1 that fires in its front to left arc, and 1 that fires in the front to right arc. So, both are great configurations depending on which kind of vessel you want. They doesn't cost additional points for each configuration, and you can either have, and if you want more escorts and make a big ship-heavy fleet, you'd want to go with the standard edition. If you want more payload with more firing, basically more Tau-ish in my opinion, which is more long-range shooting combat, then you'd go with the Dalith configuration. The next cruiser that we got... Oh, and as a note, for 15 additional points, you can increase either configuration's hit points from 4 to 6, which is not bad, making it more of a regular cruiser than a light cruiser if you do if you spend the points on it, which isn't too bad, and it doesn't increase the ship's value too much. The next in the list is the Hero Class Starship. The Hero Class Starship is a cruiser with 8 hit points, speed 20 centimeters, turns 45 degrees, 2 shields, armor 5, turrets 3. So far, this is probably one of the best escorts cruisers that we've looked at. Also of note, this has the deflector shield on it, so as long as its POW weapon battery system is functional, then it is as long as it doesn't suffer a POW critical hit on a critical hit table, it has an armor 6 when being attacked from the front, which is really awesome. And armament-wise, it's got a standard version, which has a gravity launcher, which is their torpedoes, with a servo strength of 6, firing in the front arc. A POW railgun, which is 45 centimeter range, strength 4, fires in the front, left, or right arc. It has a port and starboard launch bay with 1 squadron each, and a port ion cannon with 30 centimeter range, strength 2, fires in its front or left arc, and a starboard ion cannon of the same stats but can fire in its front or right arc. It also has what's called a Tolku configuration. The Tolku configuration had the same stats. The difference with this one is it replaced the ion cannons with 2 railgun batteries, each of strength range 45 centimeters, strength 4. One fires in its front to left arc, one fires in its front to right arc. Now, between the two, I'd probably go with most likely the standard version or the Talku configuration. Both are actually really good and do provide a lot of different creative options, especially if you want more ordnance type of capabilities, but if you want more close range combat capabilities. But since they are town, you don't want ships to be getting close enough to board. But again, it's actually really more sorry, I keep forgetting about some of the special rules they have that we'll talk about later on. It depends on if you want at least 4 dice that can wound on 4s no matter what, or if you want just more dice to roll when firing in your front arc. If you want a heavy dice rolling configuration with the ship, you want to go with the Talku version. If you want, I want my weapon batteries, my torpedoes, and I just want to be able to have at least some weapons that only need a 4 to hit, then you'd want to go with the standard edition. But me personally, I probably would go with I'd probably have at least one of each, most likely, but I'd probably lean towards a Talku configuration myself. And that was it for escorts. I'm sorry, not escorts, cruisers that the Tau got in this version. Between them, I think the Hero class is much better than the Merchant class by far, but both have a very mostly because you get more ordnance payload, which is what I think the Tau really should be focused on more. And the Hero class starship, I think, just provides a little bit more. It's got a little bit of everything, and it has 2 versions which kind of figure out nice, where you can either get a lot of dice rolling with some ordnance weaponry and some ordnance payloads as well as missiles and such, or you can go with one that guarantees 4 dice only need 4s to hit, plus torpedoes and squadrons. In terms of the battleship is pretty point heavy, and if I would probably avoid it, but again, I always love to just have battleships in my forces, so between them, I probably would go with the experimental version, because again, the experimental version, I think, is more Tau-themed than the standard edition, in my personal opinion, that is. And that's really it that I can go over. That's all we have for battleships and cruisers. And so we'll continue on with escorts in another video. So until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.